TNA management used Austin Aries and Roderick Strong as an example for being on time to shows. They worked their scheduled match at the Against All Odds pay-per-view and wrestled at the Impact tapings Tuesday night. However, they have been told they will be off TV for the next month or 2 months. The penalty time could be shortened or extended depending on how TNA proceeds with the punishment. Aries and Strong arrived at the TNA pay-per-view 4 hours late. They drove 6 hours Saturday night to fly out of an airport that wasn't blanketed by a severe snowstorm on the East Coast. Prior to the Ring of Honor show in Long Island on Saturday, TNA, this is before Against All Odds, just for clarity, TNA management called Aries and Strong, we talked about this last, instructing them to fly to Orlando to ensure they arrived in time for the pay-per-view. Aries made the decision to stay in Ring of Honor. They arrived in time and worked their scheduled match against the Naturals. Before the match, Aries was informed they would be punished. Aries says they were justified in the actions they took, and Aries was justified, and I was justified in what I said. Aries says it was a catch-22 for Aries and Strong, who felt an obligation to fulfill the ROH commitment, but wanted to ensure they worked in Orlando. Which it turns out they hit both of them, so you should be a little bit no harm, no foul, right?
I mean, yeah, me as a person, yes, I understand that you did both, like, slap on the wrist, but it should be fine. I can also see the company's point of view as like, no, we told you to be here and you weren't here.
Yeah, and like obviously there's I think increasingly conflict at the moment between TNA and Ring of Honor, where they were on good terms in like the middle of 05, and now more of these problems are arising where the guys they share across both rosters, especially when they run the same weekends, are either coming into one or the other show injured, they're missing shows because they get hurt in the other shows. They're like Joe, I think, has an issue coming out of both of his last pay-per-view matches due to injuries suffered in indie dates. And then obviously there is this incident where they told all the talent to fly in early, and a bunch of people like Dave Hebner, who was running a show in Virginia with a bunch of TNA talent, just flat out cancelled his show. He's just like, no, all right, they can't be here, cancel the show. But Aries and Strong, who like completely understandably feel a loyalty to Ring of Honor, they're Ring of Honor guys. Aries is a former Ring of Honor world champion at this point, so like it's completely understandable that he's like, I don't want to fuck over Ring of Honor like that. But you are right that then it is completely understandable for TNA to be like, you are our priority contractually. I believe it does say in the contract that he can.
That's the thing too. It's like, this is like you signed the contract sort of thing as well.
Yeah, you agreed that we are your priority and can pull you from dates if need be, and we wanted to do that and you refused to do it, so go home. But yeah, it's a shame that like these two, like I think the X Division needed two guys like this. Not that there's anything wrong with the Lethals and the Shelleys and the PDs of the world, but like the Aries and the Strongs really help complement that and round that out.
Well, yeah, it's adding more meat to the bones.
And they are guys that, as you look to move Styles and Daniels into the tag division and move Joe into the heavyweight division, they are guys that then slot up to where Sabin and Lethal and Shelley are now, as Sabin, Lethal, and Shelley move up to where Styles, Daniels, Joe are. You know, you've kind of taken out that level below the mid card of the X division, so now that you just leave the X division with less depth without them.
Yeah. But it's like it's one of those ones that you can understand their perspective on, I guess.
There's a lot more like back and forth where like Aries is also injured. Like he got hurt in working in the Naturals match. He tweaked his knee, so he's also out injured for a while. But he also like released a statement that had some inaccuracies about like the timeline, and then people got mad about that. It's like, oh, he said they informed him day of, whereas actually they informed him night before about the fact that he'd have to not do the show, and like there's messiness there too that complicates it even more. But for the most part, I understand the actions of all individuals involved.
Yeah, the thing that I find interesting about it, or at least is a different note too, is like you have to remember that this is a company that is incredibly insecure about Ring of Honor and how much praise it gets online, and like I think that's always going to be part of it too, is like they do kind of resent this promotion a little bit too.
I think you can also just take the about Ring of Honor out of it. Like, we talked all about what they were doing at Wrestling Society X last, which is the exact same, like, deep insecurity that they're, like, terrified of everything around them and, like, kind of jealous of everything around them, and they're super isolationist even when they're not. There is, like, just an insecurity that goes to the bone of the company during this era, isn't there?
Yeah, I think they see all the parts that they have, and they want to be perceived as living up to that, but there's points in which they just aren't. And yeah, but it doesn't help that they started at pretty similar time span to ROH2, and they're like, we are bigger than this promotion. Why does this promotion get so much affection and high praise from pundits and such? So I think there's definitely, I see where it could come from, I guess. Even if I think a lot of it is self-inflicted.
TNA announced a licensing agreement with Hermie Sadler-owned UWF promotion to run TNA-branded house shows in Virginia.
Oh, fuck off. Fuck off. Fuck off.
A lot of these shows made tape if you'd like to watch them.
First of all, my man took the UWF name?
Hell yeah, Hermie Sadler. The first show takes place March 31st at the Grand Center in Danville. The second show, April 1st in Martinsville. Former 6 Points of Impact contributor Jeff Hammond will attend the April 1st show.
He owns it with the Hebners?
Yeah.
This is not my UWF.
We have a Dixie quote.
This is not Terry Gordy. This is not Dr. Death. What the fuck did Dixie say? We feel the time is right to take our production to the fans that have been so supportive of us as we have grown into a primetime slot on television.
Dixie Carter said in a press release last week. Yeah, that primetime spot part didn't last.
We have had a great relationship with Hermie and his family for a long time, and we know that the UWF-TNA partnership will continue to grow our fan base in the Mid-Atlantic/Southeast.
Sadler, a longtime supporter of TNA wrestling, says the momentum TNA currently has, along with the growth of the UWF, made it the perfect time to join the forces.
I hate that he calls it the UWF. It really annoys me.
Do you have a Hermie Sadler impression in you?
Not one that wouldn't just be demeaning.
Hermie Sadler said, I was on the very first TNA pay-per-view, so not unlike your Dixie, by the way, which is thoroughly representative and good first. So I know how far they have come in a short period of time, he said in a press release.
I love Dixie, that's the different.
Yeah. We have featured mostly TNA talent on our shows this year, and the response has been great. Fans are ready for an alternative. We are proud to partner with TNA to bring the TNA experience, including the six-sided ring, to fans across Virginia and North Carolina. Like, they are beginning to dip their toe in house shows. We're talking about the one they're running in Detroit as well, which is actually in cooperation with the ICP. Of course it is. So it's an easy way, I think, to start dipping your toe in the house show market without having to commit too many resources. So you can be like, oh, we'll partner with the ICP for the Detroit show. We'll do these Hermie Sadler things in Virginia and North Carolina.
We'll partner with the ICP is an insane statement.
Don't you love partnering with the ICP?
No.
Yeah, it seems a pretty low stakes way to get your toe in the market of house shows without having to actually spend money.